God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Welcome to Only Encouragement Across the Table with ELS. God bless everybody on this wonderful Wednesday morning. I'm excited to bring this teaching to you guys today. But first and foremost, I want to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, to my wife and my family, to Bishop Curtis Jackson, First Lady Constance Jackson, Better Covenant Evangelistic Ministries in Richmond, Virginia, to all my Bearing Fruit Outreach Ministries family, to my colleagues and friends all over, far and near. And I want to do a special shout out to my mom. Hello, Mom. My mom is always there for me. I love you. To my brother Tony and my sister Kim, I want to give a shout out to them. I love you guys. Shout out to Ron in Richmond, TJ Coles, Rodney Driver, Mark Lanier. I can go on and on. Little fella, Boo Boo. We can go on and on. Shout out to Team Cars. Shout out to my man John, call him Joffrey. Just thank God for all you. Shout out to Red, Jay Adams. I can go on and on. Just so many people I like to thank for giving me the opportunity to speak into their lives. It's a wonderful opportunity. And just shout out to you guys who support me on Facebook and YouTube. Pastor Evangelist Langton Stevens III, Bear Fruit Outreach Ministries. If you want to support the ministry, you can cash out the ministry at $BFOM2323, Bear Fruit Outreach Ministries. We're still growing. We're still looking for a physical location. We plan to be up and running in the beginning of 2023. And so we are excited about that, where we can come back together. We know we've been through a lot of COVID and all this other things, but God is still moving forward. And I'm excited about what he's doing in my life as well as yours. And so I welcome your continuous prayers for me. Those who know me, know what I'm about, know my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So today we're going to talk about a subject that many of us probably don't really, pay attention too much to, but it's a needed teaching to bring some awareness to what I call greed, and how the effects of greed can ruin our lives, and the things we're trying to do in life to make ourselves better. So let's get into the scripture that I want to use today. Proverbs chapter 15. I'm only going to read one verse before we get into my notes. Proverbs chapter 15. So if you have a Bible, go ahead and grab that right quick. And Proverbs chapter 15, verse 27. And it reads this: He who is greedy for gain troubles his own house, but he who hates bribes will live. I need to read that again. He who is greedy for gain troubles his house. Hear what the Lord is saying through Solomon. But he who hates bribes will live. Today I want to talk about the consequences of greed. The consequences of greed. There are several things that greed will do in your life. Greed will make you not involved in the thing that really, in things that really matter. And greed will make you do things without really thinking them through. Greed will make you selfish about everything. And greed will continue. Let me make it a better term. Greed will consume you and eventually terminate your life. Now, I ask the question to you today: why do humans love greed? It is impossible to understand this in life. And greed is like each one of us is greedy. Everybody have a percentage of greed in them. So whether you're a believer or not, as we get further along in the teaching, you'll understand what I'm saying about that. Greed has nothing to do with money, because I know that's the first thing that comes to people's mind is money when you think about the term greed. It's our take that we are only greedy for money, but in general, we're greedy for everything. Hear me out. For instance, if you're receiving love and care, and you won't be thankful and satisfied, instead you desire more. You never feel content. That, my friend, is greed. Or if, in case someone makes what I call a applause for you, and you would desire to have more applause, or you will be jealous if someone else also receives it, that, my friend, is greed too. Greed is nothing but a state of mind. There are people who leave and go and leave behind everything because of greed. They are greedy. Yes, they are. They're greedy. They are greedy not for money, but maybe they're greedy for peace, or for and not just for peace, and not just for materialistic things. We all are greedy in our own ways. I need you to hear me out. At times we want to be the best. Let me give you some examples. The best chef, or the best singer, the best dancer, or say whatever you are. You want to be the best at what you are, right? And you can't think or see greed in that. So you ask yourself, well, Pastor, Evangelist, am I greedy for wanting to be the best? Yes, we are. But the thing is, our greed is not of money, but of different things. And if one feels like understanding the vicious, what I call cycle, you simply can't. It's hard. It's like we blame the one who is mad for, it's like we blame other people, or blame the one who is mad for what we call lust, but we fail to inspect ourselves. We can look at somebody else and say, yeah, they full of lust and they full of greed, but we fail in the area of inspecting our own selves and see if there's any greed in us. The only day that our greed will come to an end will be when we're satisfied. Somebody got to hear me. When will we accept life as it is? Can I say that again? When will we accept life as it is? When we really don't have to worry about the world and its mess. Let me ask you that again. I want to slow that up. In order for us to get rid of this greed, I asked you this, and I said the way that we get rid of greed, that we can get that greed out of us, is when we accept life as it is, and when we really don't worry about the world and its mess. It's the world that causes the greed to feeding us, to drive us. We have that mark of what I call serenity. And we're just happy and content when we get to that point, greed no longer has control of our lives. When we think each breath we take, we thank God for each breath we take. We thank each person, and we're happy with ourselves anyways. That's when greed is behind us. And that only will help you feel calm and composed and feel relaxed. Life is what I call life is meant to be enjoyed. And just when we walk in a world and it's mess, we forget about living. And greed, my friend, is one of the most what I call cruel factors of it. The greed causes us to walk in the mess of the world, to be uncontent with God, to be uncontent with ourselves and what He has already given us. Greed causes that. And I ask this today. Now, why is there so much greed in this world? And what can we do on an individual basis to counteract greed? That's what I'm asking today. What can we do to counteract greed? We all curse with it in some form or fashion. See, in the modern day age filled with what we call infinite possibilities and opportunity, greed is inevitable. Because we got so many possibilities and opportunities. It's inevitable to be greedy. It's going to come on you. So how can we learn to be satisfied and content with our life and not succumb to greed? Here's a trick to greed. I want you to hear me. It is as necessary as contentment for us. Here's the trick to greed. It is as necessary as contentment for us. Why? Because without greed, there will be no contentment. Oh, somebody got to hear me. Without greed, see the trick? There will be no contentment. Without the ignorance of greed, there will be no wisdom of contentment. Keep following me. We gain wisdom and we learn and grow from greed. Oh yeah. We gain wisdom and we learn and grow from greed. But the problem with greed is very few people are capable of growing out of it. That's the problem with greed. Very few people are capable of growing out of it. It's like an addiction. It doesn't matter what greed it is. It could be greed in delicious food, which we call gluttony. It can be greed in the pleasure of the flesh, which we call lust. Or it can be greed in material, in worldly material things, or even greed in experiences. Yeah, even greed in experiences that we have. Wanting to travel and see new things. Yes, it can be greed in that. These are all the greeds in our daily lives. And now, how can we stop all this greed? There actually is a way. I want you to hear me. Now imagine today in your, what we call your final, was the final day on your earth. Let me give you an example. Imagine that today was the final day for you on earth. Your life ends tomorrow. And you only have 24 hours left to live as a human. Hear me out. Now I want you to be honest. Would you still be greedy if you knew your end was near? Greed stems from an expectation, that tomorrow will still come and you still have time left to gain more. Oh, somebody got to talk to me. You can be on your last day on earth, but greed will still put an expectation in your spirit, in your mind, that tomorrow is still going to come. And you still have more time to gain more. Oh, somebody got to talk to me. Be honest. More people on their deathbed don't really want much. They just finished their final days, indulging in the simplest pleasures, like spending time with the family, enjoying their last meal, gazing at the furthest horizon at the beach. Have you ever met a person who still craves for more money, females, or worldly materials, or experiences when he is near his deathbed? Ain't it something how greed loses its power when you are coming to your end? But all your life, consciously and unconsciously, dressed up in ambition is greed, because you're never satisfied with what you have. That is what Eve and Adam and Eve demonstrated in Genesis. Not being satisfied with what God said and what he has provided causes greed to become a virus in your life. Death humbles us all. Yeah, death, it humbles us all. Why? Because it's a wake-up call. It reminds us that nothing in life is death for a moment. We don't want to have to wait until we are at our last moment before we rid ourselves of the curse of greed. I need you to be mindful of the curse and the consequences of greed. It affects our minds and our hearts, and it traps you in a web of destruction. Now, before I close, I want to give you some negative effects of greed to keep in your mind as you navigate through this life, this thing called life. I want you to understand and take heed to greed and be wise as you live this life out here on earth. Greed slows down opportunities for you, because no one is going to want to help you because you have, because of your, what we call, give me. your give me attitude. Having that type of greed in your life, nobody's really wanting to give you opportunities. Because every time they deal with you, it's give me, give me, give me, give me. 2, with greed, you lose friends. And people will not trust you because you will throw them under the bus to further your advancement. Somebody got to hear me. Greed will make you lose friends, lose the trust of people, because they know that for greed, you will throw them under the bus just to advance yourself. Somebody got to talk to me. Do you know about it like that? Greed. Greed brings a guilty conscience. When you finally get what you want, you realize how much people enjoy your company less. Hear me out. And then it would be depressing to realize that stepping over others wasn't worth it. Yeah, greed will cause you to get what you want, and then if you have any humanity about you, you'll get a guilty conscience after you done got everything you want, and you realize that it won't even worth you stepping on people to get what you got in your life. Greed. Greed creates enemies. You'll be looking over your shoulders for cheating someone, even financially. That's what greed will do. Greed can be a haunted house in your life. Greed can have you in jail or dead. Greed makes you take financial shortcuts and that require highly, what I call, unethical behavior. Greed does that. Greed makes you lonely and unlikable. I know you think you got it going on in a bag of chips, but when people see the spirit of greed on you, it will, trust me, they don't want to be around you. It'll make you lonely and it'll make you unlikable. So today on encouragement, take heed to greed. And the curse of its consequences. Don't let greed bury you. Don't let greed drive you further away from God. Don't let greed alienate you from other people. Learn to be content with the provisions that God has provided. Learn to be happy with your portion. We all want more, but don't want more at the expense of others. Don't want more by stepping on and hurting others. Greed. Think about it and ask yourself, do I have any greed in my life that I need to get under control? Because greed is sly and slick and deceiving. And you can have the curse of greed on you, and you can be a person that's driving and ambitious and say, well, I'm a pretty good person. No, under the undertone of that is greed. Know the difference. And don't let the enemy cause you to be blindsided with thinking that you need more than what God has provided for your life. God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you until we speak again. Take care.